everyone, Sam here again for the October 2023 update. Sorry, I'm actually not in uniform this time. I immediately take my uniform off when I get home, and I just went and worked out so that I can eat whatever I want, and here we are. So a couple questions that I got was NCO coming to IPAP. So the biggest things were for me were the switching the uniform over. So it costs a little bit of money. Like, we have our clothing allowance even though we always spend more than the clothing allowance. So the bigger things were switching the uniform over, and that's for ASUs and OCPs, and then getting in a mentality of I was a platoon sergeant before coming here, so getting out of that mentality of like, these are my soldiers, I need to do for them. Like, you're not an NC, you are an NCO, so help and hold each other accountable, and definitely still live by the creed. However, you don't have a platoon or a squad or a team or anything anymore. Typically, I mean, you can be a squad leader here. It is not nearly the same as a squad leader in a typical platoon or what have you. Sometimes it's accountability if we don't have like an 8 o'clock class or something like that. But it's just switching the mentality. Like, I'm a full-time NCO to part-time student, possibly, if you're in school doing prereqs, because now I'm a full-time student and I'm an NCO, but that's just added on. That's not my primary focus while I'm here. So still be respectful, still follow all the customs and courtesies, because I have realized people get complacent here. You still salute, you still address people by their rank and name if they outrank you, unless they tell you otherwise. One of my good friends here is a captain, and before I knew her, I always called her by her rank. Even now, when I meet new people, when we're doing an IPAS event or something like that, I still use, especially for the captains, and not so much for like other NCOs like that are my equal, if typically there's an understanding there. But I suggest the first time you speak to anyone, just like in big Army, Force Com, whatever, you always use the rank and name. So don't get too complacent when you come here. Also, remember your 670-1 when you come here. Everybody should know it. People get complacent here a lot. We got called out on some males and females not following their grooming standards. So remember all of the things that are Army, because you're still Army when you're here, even though it doesn't always feel like it. We still have monthly UAs. We actually have our ACFT coming up next week. The last one was in October, so every 6 months. And then we have our height and weight at the end of the month, so every 6 months for that as well. Unless you can still get flagged here for not passing your PT test, for not passing, I believe. I'd have to look at the reg for the ACFT stuff, but you can definitely get flagged for height and weight. So just be mindful of that while you're here. You're still in the Army. If you're National Guard or Reserve and you're not used to some of the active duty side of things, I can't speak for sure on the National Guard and Reserve because I have always been active duty, but ACFT, height and weight every 6 months, grooming standards, you can do the ponytail, but there are certain stipulations with it. You can have earrings, but not MPTs and that sort of thing. But that's all Army stuff. So if you are Air Force, Navy, or Marines under the Navy, I cannot answer many of your questions. So you may need to find somebody who is in your service. And my whole class is all Army, so we aren't privy to some of the knowledge that the other services have. And then some people asked about specialists coming here. So you do have to be BLC complete if you're Army. So you are promoted to sergeant when you arrive. And so everybody gets BAH. There's no single soldier housing for IPAP on Fort Sam. So if you want to get on the wait list for housing, you can. A lot of people get roommates. We had a couple people actually buy a home. Because you're only guaranteed to be here 16 months, that's a risk that you would take if you choose to do so. Some people get apartments or houses with other roommates and that sort of thing. A lot of people, I actually met people three people in the freshman class that live in my apartment building, but I'm the only one from my class. So I have about a 10-minute drive usually to base, so I usually leave my house around 7:20 so that if I hit gate traffic, I still have time to get to class. I actually left at 7:25 this morning and hit gate traffic. I was still on time, but it was a little more rushed than I had wished. And then if you're a brand new sergeant arriving here, so a specialist promoted sergeant here, all the way up to a sergeant major. I don't know if a sergeant major's ever come to IPAP. I probably wouldn't, but I know we at least have a couple start first class many start first classes in our class. I don't know if there's ever been an EMS sergeant, but any NCO is going to wear OCS rank. So unless somebody tells you what rank they came here as, or maybe the UA names that are put out, sometimes we get lists of names that say staff sergeant, sergeant first class, and so forth. So you might figure out somebody's rank that way. When you get here, you can get the schedule for your whole time in IPAP. So you'll get your break between freshman and sophomore, your break from sophomore to junior, your break from junior to senior, your break from senior semester to your first day of phase 2, which you usually get 2 weeks to travel. And then you'll also get your graduation for phase 1 and phase 2. So you can plan accordingly. Obviously, you need to pass all your classes to meet those dates. So today we actually completed our first full subject in the sophomore semester, clinical skills 2. So that was fun-ish. But we end week 7 now, so we only have 9 weeks left, and sophomore semester is pretty easygoing. So I'm excited to have a little bit of a break, but junior semester is probably going to cripple me. But you also have classes are typically 8 to 12, and then 1 to 5 or 13 to 17, depending on what you speak when you're in your civilian time. But so you have lunch from 12 to 1 typically, but that can change. For example, today we had our clinical skills scheduled 8 to 12. We got done around 11:30, so our next teacher came in at 11:40 and taught until 1:30. So you do have to be flexible and understand that your schedule can change at a moment's notice. So we had 10 or 20 minutes to actually prepare for our next teacher coming in, but we all expected that it may be moved up. We had a heads up ahead of time that it might get moved. So just know that can happen, and you may have noticed, you may not. However, be flexible, and it's all to your benefit. He moved his class up to get us out of there earlier today. So we got out at 1:30 instead of 3 p.m. So, I mean, I like getting out of there on a Friday. And I will say, for those of you that have not gotten here yet, on a Monday or a Friday, when you test, I feel like so much of your energy and focus goes into that test that you're only halfway listening the rest of the day. So, and the teachers can see it and they can sense it too. They're like, oh, test day, okay. So, it's just gonna be something you're gonna have to make sure you still try to pay attention, and then you learn from those moments so that you know, oh, I know I don't listen to class after a test, so I know the next day I need to look at their slides again. I feel like there were several more questions. I don't know if I addressed this last time. I did have a question on if you can bring your family. I do recommend bringing your family. It just didn't work out for me and my family. I flew home on break between freshman and sophomore semester, and I saw them for that week. I just flew home for the 3-day for Columbus weekend as well, because I did not have a test on the following Tuesday when we returned. And then I'm going to fly home for Thanksgiving break as well, because we also don't have a test the Monday following Thanksgiving. So that's amazing. However, I'd probably still fly home for Thanksgiving and just come home early, like a day early, to make sure I focused my studies. So sophomore semester is where it starts getting more second and third order questions. You're not getting the straightforward questions that you're used to in freshman semester. So I think that helps us gear more, learn in sophomore when we have like a lighter class load. So it gears us toward what we need to focus on in junior semester when we have a heavy class load and we're getting this all second and third order questions pretty much, or all the vignettes that are asked. I recommend staying active, even if you're not motivated to work out, just be active and try to stay on the schedule, because you still need to, you don't want to be like finally meeting your goal, potentially your dream of being a PA, and then you fail your PT test or height and weight and they're wanting to boot you out or something. But also make sure you take care of yourself. There's people here that are getting sick because they're stressing, cortisol levels are going crazy, you get sick easier. So just make sure you're taking care of yourself as well. Make sure you get enough sleep. So sleep, a multivitamin or emergency or vitamin C, I definitely recommend. And I don't know if there's much else that I had planned to talk about. I had the specialist to sergeant, NCO at IPAP, schedule, lunch, semester schedule. Oh, and there's lots of good food. So especially if you want to eat all the good food, you have to work out. So, oh, and IPAS is doing a lot of great events. We just had PA Day last Friday. It was pretty good. We got to raise a little money through Pie in the Face to some of the instructors, and we did a class versus class for like volleyball, tug of war. Some food trucks came out. We're also planning a trunk or treat for the Friday before Halloween. All the classes are getting out at 3, so we'll probably start at 4 or 5. But it's gonna be pretty cool. I really like the faculty advisor for IPAS and the students that help run IPAS, because everybody is really wanting to do things and help people and make it a good time while we're here, because we don't always get good days. So I will just say, if you're coming here and you're like, oh, I'm getting 90s, I'm gonna struggle in sophomore semester, or I don't know if I can make it, I want to alleviate any concerns, because I've been a solid B student the whole time I've been here, and I will just say that I am happy with my level of studying versus grades versus keeping my sanity. So, you could be that person that's like, oh no, I really want an RCOM or AM or whatever they give the honor grad, but it might be important to you, but personally, my personal opinion is it's not worth the attack it'll take on your mental health, unless all of this just comes that easy to you, because that could be the case too. we have some really smart people in our class, and I'm proud of all of them. And whoever gets honor grad, I'll be ecstatic for. So, if you guys have any questions, I'll drop my email in the description. I feel like I forgot to address something. If I did, just leave a comment, email me. I'll be glad to reach out, and I will talk to you guys again in November. Bye.